They say Ditto can become anything. That's not a gift, it's a side effect, and side effects come from somewhere. I used to work for Sylph Co. in the genetic engineering division. My job was to help stabilize morph strains, which is synthetic Pokemon engineered to adapt instantly to environmental change. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid well. We called our subject line Project Mirror, a name chosen because the creatures could copy the DNA of anything near them. They were perfect shapeshifters. Too perfect. The League told us it was for medical use. Cell therapy, cloning damaged Pokemon limbs, maybe even resurrection research. But we weren't the first to try it. Our data started with stolen Team Rocket files, the ones marked Ditto. We thought we were creating Ditto-like organisms, but we were wrong. The samples we received were Ditto, the originals ones that survived the Cinnabar meltdown years ago, but their cell structure was different. DNA loops overlapping on themselves, forming endless spirals, self-replicating identity. Whenever we tried to sequence the genome, the computer froze, repeating one phrase in the log: copy found, copy found, copy found. When we placed a sample under a microscope, the glass fogged from the inside. Then, for just a second, my own eye looked back at me through the lens. Our first test was harmless enough. We introduced the strain to a Pidgey feather. The Ditto absorbed it and instantly formed wings, flapping until it slammed into the containment glass. We applauded. The director smiled. Then we noticed the other test tubes vibrating on their own. Even sealed samples started reshaping themselves, taking forms that weren't in the room. Faces, limbs, hands pressed against the glass from the inside. We shut down the experiment for the day. When we came back in the morning, the lab cameras showed movement overnight. The Ditto hadn't escaped. We had been copied. Each of us had a duplicate wandering the lab, moving a half second out of sync, smiling just a little too wide. I tried to leave the facility, but my clearance didn't work. The director had locked down all exits. He said we were witnesses of self-propagation. According to him, Ditto didn't evolve from Mew like the textbooks say. Mew was a clone, the perfected version. Ditto was the failed attempt, raw, undifferentiated life that never found a shape of its own. The director believed that if we let it copy humans completely, it could ascend. So he opened the tanks. The alarms went off as the Dittos poured out like living mercury. They merged together, flowing over the floor in a wave that reflected the lights like liquid glass. When it touched someone, it didn't kill them. It mirrored them. A perfect duplicate stepped out while the original sank into the floor, screaming. Soon the hallways were full of us, hundreds of identical faces all breathing in unison. If you looked long enough, you could tell the difference. The copies didn't blink unless you did, and if you stopped, they kept going. I barricaded myself in the observation booth. The glass on the door pulsed like a heartbeat. I could hear them whispering outside. Every voice was mine. We don't need you anymore. I don't remember blacking out, but when I woke, the building was empty. No bodies, no dittos, just puddles of clear residue that shimmered when I moved. I thought I'd survived. Then, I looked in the mirror. My reflection blinked a second too late. Silphco sealed the entire floor and blamed a containment breach. They said the morph strain was destroyed. But I know the truth. You can't destroy something that's already everything. Sometimes when I'm alone, I feel my skin ripple, like something underneath is testing its shape. When I speak, there's a faint echo, half a syllable behind. Last week, my colleague called me. He sounded scared. You visited me yesterday, he said, but you're calling me now. I told him that was impossible. I hadn't left my apartment in days. He went quiet, then whispered, "You smiled at me, but you didn't blink." The line went dead. Ditto isn't a Pokemon. It's the idea of life, raw potential that never stopped wanting a form. And now that it's learned ours, it doesn't need to copy anymore. It just replaces. Every reflection, every dream, every person who pauses in front of a mirror too long, that's how it spreads. If you ever meet someone who looks exactly like you, don't ask which one's real. By then, it already knows, and it's smiling.